cuppa? I've got mine, but I forgot my chocolate. Grab a cup and some chocolate. There's someone I want to introduce you to today, and I actually want to meet her myself. I haven't yet met her. So I am Simran. I'm just trying to figure out how to add her. Hang on. Simran, if you can request to join. There we go. There we go. Okay, so guys, I'm introducing you to Dr. Simran Malhotra. I have just become friends with her, connected with her on Instagram, and from what I've learned about her so far, her story is really inspiring, and I want her to share it with you. We met through this bundle. That's how we met, so that's pretty cool. And there are people in the plant-based world who I think, you know, we should get to know, we should learn from. And this is one person that is like right now a big bright light out there, and I want you to get to know her. And I want to get to know her too. Okay, here we go. Ren, she should be joining here now. There we go. I'm so good at this live stuff. Hi.
Hi, Dreena.
So good to have you and meet you in person.
It is so lovely to meet you. I can't even tell you how excited I am because you played such a big part in the beginning of my plant-based journey, especially after I had my kids. So this is a true pleasure for me. I would actually ask you to sign my book. That's how much I love this book. It's so well loved.
Thank you. That is sweet. Well, it's funny because, you know, we both connected just in messages here on Instagram, and you know, this bundle is cool in that regard that we get to learn about people that may not show up in our feed otherwise, that we may not know about. And like I said, I feel like you're this big bright light right now that people need to know about and hear your story. Are you willing to share?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I would love to share my story. So my name is Simran. I am a triple board certified physician. My story is quite long, so I'm going to try to put it into a little nutshell. But I'm very open in sharing it. So you can definitely check that out on my page. But essentially, I'm a triple board certified physician in internal medicine, hospice and palliative care, and lifestyle medicine. Palliative care is essentially a field of medicine where I take care of people with serious illness, oftentimes near the end of this physical life. Right as I was starting my fellowship, so around the time where I was 26 years old, I found out that I carry the BRCA1 genetic mutation, the Angelina Jolie mutation. For those that don't know, it basically radically increases your lifetime risk of breast and ovarian cancer. I was told I have an 87% lifetime risk of getting breast cancer. Just for reference, the average woman's risk is about 12% by the time she's 75. And then my ovarian cancer risk, I was told, was 50 to 60% lifetime risk. I come from a very, very strong family history. My mom's a 2-time breast cancer survivor, and there's been at least 9 or 10 women on my mom's side of the family who have had either breast or ovarian cancer. So when I say I have a genetic predisposition, it is a very strong predisposition in addition to this, the genetic mutation. And so for me, I was 26. I was doing my fellowship, caring for the sickest of the sick people, oftentimes seeing young women with breast and ovarian cancer at the very end, some of them with the same mutation as me. And at the same time, I was about to get married and start my life, and saw a whole bunch of doctors, genetic counselors, breast surgeons, oncologists, had a whole team. And, you know, they were very good. They were just like, okay, this is kind of the 7-year plan, because they wanted me to have surgery, preventative surgeries by the time I was 33, which is when my mom was first diagnosed. I was 13 at the time. And they were like, okay, you need to get a preventive mastectomy, a total hysterectomy. You know, this is all the screening you need to get every 6 months.
That's so young. That's so young. And not to cut you off, but I heard you mention in an interview that you did all of that after you got married, you had children, you had two, right? Two, do you have
Yeah.
girls?
Two, a girl and a boy.
Okay, two within
18
after
months.
9 months. Yeah, so
months.
everything happened for you right away, and you did all of that before, like you're so young to be processing all of that, not just information but life events. Yeah.
It was a crazy time, and now I'm like 10 years out, so I just turned 36 this week, and I as I share my story now more openly, and at the same time I feel like I'm processing a lot of those initial years, because literally I had a 5-year plan. Like, I needed to finish my residency, my fellowship, get married, have children, be sure I was done having children, get these surgeries, you know, and at the same time I was on a visa. I'm Canadian originally, so I was on a visa. So oh really? Oh cool. I didn't know that about you. So I was born and raised outside of Toronto.
Cool. I'm originally from Newfoundland, but we're living in BC.
Oh, I love BC. Okay. Well, we're in Maryland now, and I just happened to meet my husband, who's French Canadian, at the hospital. So we're both Canadian, but we live here.
Wow. Cool. Okay.
So yeah, no, it was a crazy time. I was on a mission. I kept my head down, and I just went forward. And at the same time, because I had such a unique perspective on life itself, dealing with people at the very end, I just was like, I had so much anxiety that I needed to have something in my life that could give me back some control so that I could actually function at work. So because I was on a visa, I had to work full time. I had no choice. Essentially, I met this one beautiful soul who was one of my patients, who was 40 years old, and I met her in hospice care. She had ovarian cancer, and she found out that her and I have the same mutation. She had 2 teenage kids at the time, and basically a few days before she passed, she grabbed my hand and was like, Simran, you need to, this is not like what's going to happen to you. Like, there is something out there for you to make sure this doesn't happen. Like, make sure you are here for your children and for their future. Figure out what it is. And
I have goosebumps. Like, I have goosebumps right now. Like, that's the kind of thing that
me every time
to you for a reason, right?
And it's like, even today I say, my genetic mutation has been a blessing in so many ways. One, because it was a privilege that I got to make preventative choices for my body and for my life that my mom didn't get, and that so many of my patients didn't get. And if they did, some of them might even still be here today. And then number 2, it brought me lifestyle medicine. And, to share this message with the world it has become my life mission, because I literally take care of people who are dying from what we now know are chronic lifestyle related conditions, right? The high blood pressure and the high cholesterol diagnosed in your 20s and 30s, in your 50s and 60s becomes, the heart attack, the stroke, the end stage renal disease, like all of that. Right. And so now, like, I'm able to see what's happening at the end, and I have the tools to share with the world to say, hey, we can actually reduce the risk of this, and you don't have to end up in this situation. Now, obviously, there's people like me who are really only 5 to 10% of the population, and those are people with a genetic predisposition to things like cancer or heart disease, but that's only 5 to 10%. Yeah. So 70% of these chronic diseases that are the top killers in America today, heart disease, diabetes, stroke, like 70% of them are lifestyle related diseases. Yeah. And when I went to my doctors at that time, like pleading them, like, what can I do? Like, I need something. Like, I feel like I've like completely lost control of everything. And dealing with death, I just had so much anxiety and fear of the future. And so they just kept telling me, every single one of them said, there's nothing you can do. You have a genetic mutation. Lifestyle won't matter. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. You just have to get these surgeries. And so on a late night Google search.
story. Like, how soul crushing is that? To hear that from the experts. Like, we know that they don't understand that power of plant-based food, but that can be so, that can shut down so much in your body because your brain, something turns off in your brain, but thankfully you didn't. You know, you pursued.
Yeah. And here's the thing I'll tell you is that maybe 10 years ago, we didn't have the papers to prove this, but today, so if anyone out there is listening who has a genetic mutation or has a very strong family history and hasn't found to be carrying a genetic mutation yet, because that whole field is evolving. Like, you know, if you have a really strong family history, you should really be getting tested every 5 to 10 years to make sure they have discovered a gene. And so anyways, they have the science today and the papers to show that if you actually have a genetic mutation, it's even more important for you to be mindful of your lifestyle, because if you lived, you know, and lived the lifestyle and eating the standard American diet and doing those sorts of things, it actually heightens your risk even more of the diseases.
It's like Dr. Campbell says, Dr. T. Colin Campbell says, you know, I think it might be Dr. Esselstyn, actually. It's either Colin Campbell or Dr. Esselstyn, that your genetics load the gun, but your diet's pulling the trigger, right? Like, it's a very harsh analogy, but it really, that is the case when diet is that powerful. That's what's going to express the outcome for,
Absolutely. And so I mean, I found it myself. I, you know, my doctors didn't have to share it with me. I didn't learn any of this in med school. I didn't learn any of this in residency. And so the last 10 years of my life, I think I've learned more than I did in all of med school, in terms of just knowledge in general. Like, you know, plant-based nutrition. I got board certified in lifestyle medicine. I actually went and became a health and wellness coach, because what I learned on my journey is that everything actually starts up here. So once you can control this, then everything else in terms of your goals will actually fall into place. And so have done a lot of work in personal development and mindset training, and became a culinary coach. I love to cook now. And it's just, my whole world has changed. I'm still working as a palliative care physician. And now I'm starting to bring in lifestyle medicine even for those patients, because you know, the power of lifestyle and nutrition and plant-based foods is this: even if you're living with a serious illness, even if it doesn't treat or reverse your disease, what it will do is give you back quality of life. It will give you energy. It will help you with your pain. It will help you, you know, and that is the thing I hear from people the most who are living with these diseases is, you know, I'm living. Yes, I got a heart transplant. Yes, I'm on dialysis. So yes, my life is being extended, but I don't feel alive. You know, I can't really do the things that I want to do. And that's what it means to be human. I mean, modern medicine is amazing. It's allowing us to live longer, but we're not living, we're existing. And so now.
Yeah, what's the point of living those extra years without having the life in those years, right? The quality and the vitality and the vibrance and simple things, right? Like not having so much pain in your body, perhaps because you're eating different, having regularity because you're eating different, like the simple things that make your life better, right? And you came across, it was Dr. Grieger. We need to get him on with us.
Anyone want to meet him? Like, all of you guys are my heroes, because you literally, like, I found you, like, the way I found you was actually, I was listening to the Exam Room podcast. Okay. And then I heard you speak on there years ago, and I was pregnant with my first, and, you know, I'm sure, like, there's so much with this story, but, you know, when we went vegetarian in 2015. So I grew up eating kind of I grew up eating like a standard South Asian American diet. And my husband grew up eating a French Canadian diet. And so, you know, when we went vegetarian, it was kind of fine. So a lot of Indians are vegetarian, but then, you know, when I decided to go like vegan, whole food, plant-based, and I was pregnant and I had a newborn, because my daughter was 9 months old when I got pregnant again. So there was a lot of,
great.
Yeah, it was.
You had so much going on. Just keep adding to all of the things going on in your life at one time.
It was a crazy time. I'm in the middle of writing my book now because it was a wild time. It was a ride. So yeah, so like, when I told everyone that I want to go plant-based, including my husband, there was so many concerns about like, okay, you want to, but you're having a baby now. Like, so, pregnancy, nutrition in pregnancy, what to feed the newborn. What do you mean you're not going to give them dairy? What about calcium? All the things that we hear.
Yeah.
And so that's when, I found you, I found Brenda Davis, I found Dr. Greger, and like just armed myself with the science and the evidence, and even just like the people in this community who now have grown children who have been plant-based from childhood, So now my kids are 5.5 and 7, and they've been plant-based since birth. And I mean, it's been an amazing ride watching them grow, like powered on plants.
Totally. And I remember when they were little, ours were little like that. And when kids, their peers they all get colds. But what I noticed was really different with our kids getting like colds. It rarely turned to like an infection. It rarely got really bad, whereas their peers were often getting ear infections, and they'd be on antibiotics a lot because the body's just not recovering from things as well, and the mucus and things like that. But anyhow, that's like another story.
Right. And I'm Indian, so I'm like, there's the whole superstition piece. My mom would say, never say this out loud. So there's a lot I could say about that, but I've had a very similar experience without jinxing myself.
I've been knocking on wood everywhere.
Right.
So I'll tell you, Simran, everyone in my house has had like a cold over the past 6 weeks, and I've been healthy. So every time I mention it, I'm like knocking on things. But I give a lot of credit to the fascia work that I'm doing. So that's another part of the story. But I want you to touch on your mindset, the contribution you have in the bundle, because and talk about that a little bit, because I think it's really special and pretty unique to everything that's in there.
Yeah. So, I think for me, it was a big piece when I was 26, and I was given the statistics. There was a time where I was like in a very dark place, because right after my very first MRI, like something lit up, and then they wanted to biopsy. And at the same time, I was going into hospice during the day, and it was, to care for patients. And it was like such a scary time. And at some point I did fall into this like victim mentality, like, okay, what's the point? Like, my doctors are saying there's nothing in my control, so I'm basically just going to get cancer. I was about to get married, and it's like, well, why should I put him through this? Like, that victimhood mentality. And thank God I have a really incredible mentor in my life who I've never actually met, but it's Tony Robbins. And he just completely has changed my life and my view on life entirely. And what I learned from him is that every single experience and like anything that we want to do in our life, it starts up here. And it starts with our beliefs. It starts with the questions we're asking ourselves. It starts with the meaning that we're giving our circumstances, the story that we're telling about this life experience. Because the reality is, and I know this better than anybody, that, life is going to hit everyone in a different way, right? And what really will determine the quality of our life is how we address these situations, because we don't experience life, we experience the life that we focus on. And that was the key driver to my success in becoming who I am over the past 10 years, despite all the hardships that, came my way. And I didn't even tell you, I ended up having at the height of COVID in 2020, I had a bilateral preventative mastectomy and a total hysterectomy, putting myself into surgical menopause at 32, while practicing palliative care, while being married to a critical care physician with 2 kids under 2 during COVID, with all our family in Canada.
Oh, like a breath after that. I need a huge breath after that. We didn't have family with us when we raised our kids. We're in BC and our family's away. So even regular normal life was a lot with little ones and not having extended family. And you're talking about these, you know, huge uh, circumstances in your life that are so scary, so overwhelming. And I'm not even sure how you processed it at such a young age. Like, it's quite remarkable. I think you are, again, I think you're just this huge light for people right now to hear your story. And I want you to repeat what you said. It's not the life you have. Can you repeat that? It's the life you focus on. That was powerful.
Yeah, no. And that was the part that, like, once I adopted this mindset and this mantra that, you know, we don't experience life, but we experience the life that we focus on, is when everything changed, right? That life isn't happening to me, but life is happening for me. I just have to figure out how. And, you know, there was a book that we read during COVID, because my husband had moved out for a few months because we didn't know what the heck was happening. And so there was a book that I read with my kids, and it's called What Do You Do with a Problem? And in that book, it talks about how, you know, even our hardest situations in life can have opportunities if only we were to look for them. Right. And so that's kind of what this whole book is about. In the bundle, it's called Vitality Abundance. I could have done an ebook with recipes, but there were so many amazing ones already. I said, okay, I know that everything starts with the mindset, right? And so, you know, unless we can address and kind of do a scan of our beliefs, we're really not going to get anywhere with our goals. And our beliefs they're nothing but a state of certainty, right? And they come from so many places, and that's what people don't realize, is they believe they are their beliefs, and they're not. You know, beliefs can be created. Yeah. And, you know, beliefs can be created, beliefs can be destroyed. Our beliefs come from our life experiences. They come from the people that are around us. They come from social media. I mean, you know, so you really have to stand guard at the entrance of your mind, because that is literally what is creating your beliefs. And, you know, those beliefs will ultimately turn into thoughts, which will turn into words, which will turn into actions, which will turn into, you know, the life you're living. And so this book is all about, it's an experience, really. I walk you through the process that I have used on myself over the past 10 years to identify these beliefs, or what I call abundance blocks, and do the mindset shift to create what I call abundance beliefs, or empowering beliefs. And then all the other tools, you know, things like gratitude and visualization and setting smart goals, to helping you, you know, achieve the goals and the lifestyle that you want. But it all starts up here first, because if you have a shitty belief system, and you're always in a victimhood mentality, then you're never going to really take good quality action. And if you don't take good quality action towards your goals, then you're going to get bad results. And then you're just going to, you know, tell yourself, like, see, I can't do it. Yeah, exactly. So it's a circle that feeds itself. Whereas if you have the belief to say, hey, this is possible for me, and you go to a community and you see what is possible, you surround yourself with those people. And what I always say is, you know, show me who you hang out with, and I'll show you who you become.
That's right. Exactly.
Even if you've never met those people, you know, even just having a book, like, this is me taking your life experience and adopting it. You know, that is what the power of community is. And so when you have that positive and empowering belief system, you're going to take really good quality action. You're going to take good quality action. You're going to get results. There's no doubt about it. And then you'll tap into your greatest potential. And so then you feed your success cycle. And so I think the bundle's amazing, because it's literally what I wish I had when I was 26. Everything
tips, right? But like, yeah, things have changed so much in that time. Like, it's only 10 years, but wow, the information has exploded in 10 years. And it's just really profound that your experience, your expertise, your life story is now like has created this whole purpose for you, really, to help others navigate, whether they have a genetic marker or not, just help them navigate a place of health and vitality that they don't know perhaps exists.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think when your pain becomes your purpose, then, you know, you've found your meaning for this life. And we're all going to have pain, right? We're all going to have pain. And this is certainly not me saying we shouldn't experience bad or hard emotions, right? Like sadness or grief or anger or frustration. Those are very much part of this experience of life. And it's only after we, you know, work through those emotions that we get to the other side of resiliency and sharing our message and our purpose and everything. But what I'm saying is, you know, just because bad things happen to you doesn't mean you have to stay in that state. You can definitely live life in a beautiful state and go through difficult times, you know? And that is kind of what this whole mindset piece is, because before you can address, you know, the food you're eating and the way you're moving and meditation and all of that, you know, you have to have the mindset to get there. You have to, you know, have the right words to describe your experience of life. Is life always hard and a challenge, or is life an adventure? You know? So it's really,
you're helping us, you know, you're guiding us through that in the PDF that you have here. And I love, you're so inspiring. Everything you're saying, like, is giving me goosebumps here. But like, so on target about our beliefs, because we don't even know that there are beliefs in a way. We start to embody them as ourselves. We start to think that that's who we are, even though they're these little scripts that came in through childhood, through socialization in school, through shows we've watched, everything in our life. They're just little scripts, but we start to personalize them, right? And interpret them as us, when it's just stuff we've ingested, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's the most powerful thing. It's the most powerful thing I've ever learned in my life. And now I can, you know what, because I ended up doing health and wellness coaching. So, you know, even through coaching clients and seeing patients and, you know, family members and friends, is just helping people. There's a very, very simple process, and that now I'm even forgetting at the top of my head who created this, but 4 very simple questions. You know, when you are thinking something or you're believing something, you ask yourself, is this true?
Right.
Katie Byron,
okay.
That's who she created this. Is this true? And then you answer yes or no, and then you say, well, is this really true? And then you say, well, who am I when I believe this thought or this belief? And then when you answer that, then the last one, and probably the most important, is who would I be without this belief? What would I be capable of without this belief? And it's that powerful, like when you're that intentional about your belief system.
Right. This is such, like, I'm replaying this for my daughters later. I want them to hear your messages here, because, you know, we can learn this ourselves and work on it, but our young ones are dealing with so much more on social media than we ever did and ever are, probably. And I think they internalize a lot of things that they don't realize they're doing. So that just kind of pinged with me as you're saying that, like, wow, we need to reinforce this with our kids. And like, mine are of the age that they're really influenced by that. So,
yeah, of course.
Yes. I just mentioned too, guys, you have to go to her Instagram page, because 1, you're really fun. You're super cool and fun. And 2, that's where, like, I was like, this woman is so, like, you shine. You're just like, you're a beam of light. So you guys have to follow her Instagram and see what she's sharing out there. Can you touch on, you know, before we go off, can you touch on, once you found Dr. Greger's book and you learned about plant-based, did any of your doctors then come back and like support you, or what was your journey after that? I'd like to know like a little bit about how you made the change, and did you have other experts in your field that kind of rallied with you or not?
No, it's been a solo journey. I always say and laugh about it that the two fields of medicine that I'm most in love with, nobody knows what the heck they are, and that is palliative care and lifestyle medicine. So,
Wow.
and now trying to marry the two has been quite interesting, but also very profound at the same time, because you know, a lot of my colleagues will be like, well, talking about lifestyle doesn't really make sense for our patients because they're seriously ill and like they can't talk about lifestyle. And I just recently made a shift in my job where I'm, for the last pretty much 7 years, 8 years, I've been working in the hospital setting. So these are people that are like really, really sick, oftentimes, you know, hours, days left of life. And so talking about lifestyle obviously would not be appropriate because it's not in line with the goal at that time.
Right.
However, for the past month and a half or so, I've actually been doing outpatient palliative care. So seeing people who are living at home, and I'm in a telehealth program. So seeing people who are living at home, you know, heart transplant patients and patients on dialysis, and like, you know, people with serious illness, but who are still functional, who are, you know, still living their life. And it's incredible to me how 75% of our conversation actually is all about lifestyle. Hey doc, like what could I eat? My energy is just so low. What can I eat? Or, you know, I want to go to the gym, but I can't. Or just talking about like, okay, well, do you have some canned vegetables at home? Like, okay, let's talk about some basic things you can do sitting in a chair, or, you know, talking about fiber. I mean, they're just mind blown by the things that I'm sharing that are so actionable, that are in their control. Because the reality is, and now I've experienced this as a patient myself and as a family member, that once you become a patient and the sicker you get, the more control you lose over your life. And the one force that is so powerful of for every single human being is the need to have autonomy and the need to feel like we have control over our lives. Once we lose that, everything goes downhill after that. And so even, and that is like the most powerful thing about lifestyle medicine, is that, you know, we eat 3 to 4 to 5 times a day. We move our, you know, we move our bodies, we breathe on our own, we hydrate on our own, we choose the people we talk to or don't talk to. You know, these are all everyday actionable things. They don't require going into a hospital or getting testing or taking blood work or all the things that come with being a patient. And so lifestyle medicine is actually the most empowering for the people that are the sickest, because it gives them back like, hey, you can do this, and it's actually going to make a difference in how you feel.
Empowers them once again. What you
Yeah.
said was huge. The sicker you get, the more you lose control, or the less control you have. That's so scary. But when you then say, you know, yes, you can find ways to empower once again, so critical that people have that option, that they have that information, the knowledge, the tools, right? The tools to. Your perspective is so fascinating, because you have this lifetime, you know, this life experience, you have experience from your relatives, you have your actual career, and that perspective of working with people, which I would think has led to your own gratitude, like your own place of deep gratitude for what you have, seeing other people. I would think it would just, that has to feed into where you are.
I am so grateful for my patients, because they keep me humble and they remind me every day like what is so important in life. And if you talk to any of my friends and my family, I am a very simple person. I don't get excited by, you know, cars and brands and that sorts of things. So if you looked at my gratitude journal, you know, it's going to be things like I have breath in my lungs and I woke up today and I can walk to the bathroom. And, you know, after my surgeries, I felt that life of debility for a few weeks, because after my surgeries, I actually had a major complication, bleeding complication. And even though I was like the perfect surgical candidate, I was young and healthy, but I had a complication. And so for, you know, about 3 to 4 weeks after my surgeries, I couldn't walk, I couldn't go to the bathroom, I couldn't shower. So my husband was doing everything, like blow drying my hair, everything. And so I actually have lived that life, and I know, you know, for me, like exactly what I don't want my life to look like. And that's why, you know, my lifestyle, my nutrition, my habits are non-negotiable in my life. And my patients teach me that, because some of their greatest life regrets are, you know, one, I wish I took care of my health when I had the chance. I wish I spent more time with my family. I wish I had the courage to live life. I wish I had a courage to live the life I wanted to live and not let other people, you know, tell me what life I should live. And so these are the principles that I truly take their like decades worth of life experience and apply them to my life, so that when I get to when I'm 90, I can look back and say, man, the hard days were really hard, but the good days, they were so full of juice and full of life. And I'm so grateful that I even had the ability to experience this life, because I didn't do anything to earn it. None of us did. And that's grace. So that's grace.
I think we need to wrap it up on that, because I can't follow your beautiful words there. I'm like a little bit floored right now.
Oh, I know we're supposed to only talk for 15 minutes, so I talk way too much.
No,
so.
No, it's not that. I'm really floored by what you've talked about today. Like, my heart is pounding, and I feel really, really fortunate to have connected with you today. So being here, I'm getting a little teary, actually. Yeah, you're making me a little teary, Simran, I gotta say. When I messaged you too, like, you're so humble. I was like, I've got to call you doctor, not Simran. And you're like, no, just call me Simran. But you have me get a little emotional, so that's a good thing. Thank you so much. I mean, I know we got on today to talk about like the bundle, but I'm just like so touched to have connected with you, and I want people to follow you, and I want the world to know about you. So I'll be sharing this with like my newsletter and everything, and people out there, and let's stay in touch and keep shining out there for
I would love that, Dreena. Thank you so much. It was honestly, the pleasure is all mine. Like, you don't know what this book means to me. I'm not even going to show you the inside because it's kind of embarrassing because there's food all over it. But this book has really changed a lot for me on my journey. And I will say this, guys, that if your doctors are not giving you the answers that feel right for you, you are the expert in you. So do your research, find the people who have made it possible and follow in their footsteps. Doctors are just humans. They're experts in disease. They're not the expert in you. So I'll end it there. But thank you, and I love you, and I love your work, and your recipes are awesome. And I look forward to trying your fascia flow, because I have chronic back pain. So I'm hoping that will
help you out with that for sure. I love that. They're not the expert in you. Only you are the expert in you, right? Yeah. So beautiful. You've touched my heart today. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching, everyone. Oh gosh, amazing. This has made the bundle worthwhile to me to connect with you.
I agree. That was the best part.
Stay connected for sure. You have a beautiful rest of your Sunday.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.